Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm back with another video. So, I'm welcoming everybody back to another episode of Diecast Dynasty Garage with your host, one and only, Chris. But before we get to this video, I just want y'all to know the primary things that I ask of you guys. Something simple. Just to like, comment, subscribe, hit your post notifications so that anytime I drop a video, you guys will be the first to see it. But before we get to a video, I gotta show you guys something. It's pretty bizarre. So, I just came from work last night, and this is kind of like dealing with today. Like, I just came from outside, and it is literally snow white outside. Like, the snow is just coming down. This is the first part of the storm they're talking about. It's going to be another storm coming after this one. So, yeah. I just came out from shoveling the porch and down on the sidewalk and stuff, and just warming up my car and everything. But yeah, this was kind of like, a big deal for people living in this area. And I'm from the DMV area, so it's kind of a big deal because we normally don't get a lot of snow here. So yeah, when we get snow, it's pretty much a big deal. A lot of people make a big deal of it because we don't get it a whole lot. I mean, when it comes one day, it's literally gone the next. So, well, it's kind of like what I'm dealing with in this area. So, yeah, that's pretty much with that. But back to the video. I'm going to get you guys set up because I have something special today, and I have a unboxing to do today. It is a car that came in a couple of days ago before the storm arrived, and this is a special one because this one goes back in the early 80s. So if there's any older people that is watching this video, a lot of you are gonna remember this car. It is the 1984 Mercury Topaz. Now, what they did is they called it the Ford Topaz, and I understand because, Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury back then were all like one company, and they were kind of doing like the same thing that Chrysler, Dodge, and Plymouth was doing, where they would all make like the same exact car, but they would actually put different badges on them, and they would change up maybe a couple of things, but they were doing the exact same thing in the 80s with this Topaz. So these are one of the models that I was able to get a hold of, and so we're going to unbox it, see what it looked like. So you guys will see what I see when I open it up. So let's get the unboxing and see what it looks like. I'm excited. I had the Honda Legend, which was another car from the 80s that kind of brought back that nostalgia of the things that we had in the 80s, like cassette tapes and Walkmans and things like that, coming of the century when we were about to turn a corner of technology getting into CD players. You know, you had CD players with headphones, you know, and stuff like that. But that was the turn of the century in the 80s. So let's take this out the box. I'm already spotting this. And you can already see it through the plastic. I think I'm liking what I see already. So let's look at this. All right, here we go. Oh, this is odd. I mean, they put it in the package kind of odd. This is an odd way of putting something in the package. You know, you thought the package may, you know, would have came like this, but instead they put it sideways. I've actually never seen anybody put a car in a package sideways like this. I guess it's a first time for everything, huh? But this is it. Let's see what it says on the back. Okay, there it is right there. Officially licensed product, Ford. So, because this was a Topaz, this would be actually a Mercury. Let's see if it actually says Topaz on the back. Because, yes, it says Topaz on the back. But you guys already know that Topaz was actually the Mercury. It was still under the Ford brand, don't get me wrong, but the Ford version of this was the Tempo. And I'm about to show you the Tempo on the screen. This is the Tempo right here. I guess you can't really tell much of a difference because it looks exactly like this Topaz. It looks exactly like the Topaz. But it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago when I was telling you that Ford basically was doing the same thing that Dodge, Chrysler, and Plymouth was doing. They were making like one car with the same exact body style, but they would change the grille and add a badge on it. One would have a Chrysler badge, one would have a Plymouth, the other one would have a Dodge. And they would make a couple of other changes to it. But this is kind of what Mercury was doing. I mean, Ford was doing back in the day when they had Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury all together. You know, and this Tempo was one of those examples because, you know, you can see a few minutes ago when I showed you the Tempo, it looks just like this Topaz. The same body style and everything. They just changed up a couple of things. And so this is what you got. You know, it was the same thing as the Ford. And even though this one is badged as a Ford, you know, technically speaking, yes, it is a Ford. But at the same time, if it's a Topaz, then we're talking Mercury. Because when these came out in 84, these were actually carrying the Mercury badge, not the Ford badge. So that's one thing to consider and understand, that when the Topaz was sold in the U.S., it did have a Mercury badge, not a Ford badge. The Ford badge was preserved for the Tempo. The Topaz was the Mercury. But in any case, let's open it up and take a better look at it out of the package. All right. So, what do we have here? Okay. I like it. I sought it after this one because I thought it was a classic. This is very much a classic. Now we can see close up right there. You see right there on the left deck lid of the trunk, it says Topaz GLX. And then on the right side, it has the Ford logo and emblem. So, just so you understand, Topaz was actually Mercury, but it was still a Ford brand. But in its selling to the public, the Topaz was actually a Mercury. So this should have had a Mercury badge on it instead of a Ford. But nonetheless, I still like it. I still like it. I really like this. It does not have any opening parts, and that's okay. That's okay. It's still a great looking car. It does not have any scrapes or scuffs on it. The windows are rolled up on it, so that's one thing. It is very detailed as far as the headlights, clear lenses, and they also saved the plates so that if you have any decals, like any decals that come from those Revel put together models, the models you put together with the glue and paint them and customize them and things like that. Like if you have any leftover decals of license plates, this is the one way they're actually giving you the license plate, so that you can actually throw a license plate on it. Let's check out the interior. Let's check out at least what we can see in there. You can see it's a stick shift. Not a whole lot of cars are stick shift nowadays. A lot of people are into the automatics. It was hard enough that a lot of people couldn't drive a stick shift. And I think that's the reason why now in modern America, a lot of vehicles now are operating under automatic now. And even when it's the stick shift, they have the touch stick shift. They have the shifters behind the steering wheel now. That's also an option when you have a manual. But this is the old school rugged way of having a manual stick shift. So this is what people had to deal with back in the day when they had manuals, a stick shift, and a lot of cars back then, this was another option. Many cars back then had stick shifts. And I think as time passed, a lot of people really wasn't into driving stick shifts. It was too much for them. It was a lot of work. And I'm a witness to that. I tried driving a stick shift. I feel like it's too much for me. Like 3 pedals down there and trying to shift in between and all that. That's just, for everybody else, I mean, to each his own. Like, there's some people who love stick shift. Me personally, I've tried a stick shift. It's just not for me. So yeah, that's just it's not my cup of tea. I can't do a stick shift. I can't do it, But to each his own. There's a lot of people who love stick shifts, but they have, a lot of automatics. That's why a lot of cars that were actually known for being just stick shift are now coming in automatics, like the Porsche. And Porsche was a stick shift for years. Porsche was nothing but a stick shift for years, but as time went on, they started doing automatics for people because a lot of people just wasn't driving sticks or didn't want to drive a stick, didn't know how to drive a stick, or wanted a car such as a Porsche itself, but just didn't want the hassle of being able to drive a stick because they just didn't know how, you know, and they wanted something automatic. So everything started shifting over to automatic. But nonetheless, this is what we dealt with back in the 80s. You know, the rugged stick shift. You see, it's got the floor shifter right there in the center. So that is what we dealt with. You know, this is what you had. You had to learn how to drive a stick then. So this is what it is what it is. I'm not sure what the color this is. It looks like a silver. You know, yeah, this is a silver. Like at first glance, when I first checked it out online, it felt like it had that blemish of that faint blue in it, like that faint light blue in it, like that very, very faint bluish silver. But now looking at it, it's definitely a silver. Um, some people may say it's a blemish of blue in it. I don't know, but it looks like silver to me. So yeah. But overall, I like this. I like this tempo. I mean, it's Topaz. See, I'm already saying tempo because they look just alike. You see. But let me just give you a little bit of background for this tempo for the people who don't know about this car or have no idea about this car. The 1984 Mercury Topaz was a compact car produced by Ford Motor Company's Mercury division. See? Introduced as a fuel-efficient and practical option during a time when consumers were seeking smaller, more economical vehicles due to rising fuel costs. It shared its platform with the Ford Tempo, as I was mentioning earlier, offering a slightly more luxurious feel within the same compact car category with subtle design differences to distinguish it from its Ford counterpart. The Topaz was considered a popular choice for its affordability and reliability and was discontinued alongside the Tempo in 1994 as consumer preferences shifted towards larger vehicles. So this was a very popular car back in the 80s. And like I said, this was their way of trying to target the market for smaller compact vehicles because if you guys remember, sometime like in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a thing where they had like a gas shortage, a gasoline shortage, and there were millions of people that was lining up for gas because there was a shortage at one point. And at the time, I think the market was looking for something more economical and more affordable. So they kind of steered away from the larger vehicles and they wanted to bring in something that was much smaller and more compact, but yet affordable too, and something that was great on gas mileage. So that was what they aimed for when they unveiled the Ford Tempo / Mercury Topaz. It also says, while sharing the same design as the Tempo, the Topaz aimed for a slightly more upscale aesthetic. with subtle design variations. The Topaz was positioned, like I said, as a more luxury option within the compact car segment, targeting buyers seeking a balance between fuel efficiency and comfort. See, so that is what they were aiming for as far as this tempo goes. Now, this was produced from 1984 to 94, so it only lasted 10 years. This car had a 10-year run. And the discontinuation, as consumers shifted towards larger cars in the 90s, Ford decided to discontinue both the Topaz and the Tempo. So it had a good 10-year run. And I guess the compact car market it didn't last. You know, people, and see, we got to understand something, that our preference for vehicles sometimes it shifts. Like it shifts back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Prime example. So it was like when the gas prices jumped up really high, we tended to shift more to the smaller vehicles because we were spending so much money to fill up a gas tank for those big, huge gas guzzlers. We were trying to shift towards more smaller compact vehicles that took a lot of gas but saved you money. But then as time went on, people were looking for something with a little more room because they had families. So then they started shifting back to the larger vehicles that had more room, more seating capacity, very practical as far as not only just holding a family, but being able to carry a lot of cargo. And that's what they shifted towards, you know. So the market has been a back and forth thing with people's choice of vehicles, whether it was something small and compact or something big and roomy, you know. And it just depended on the family sides and things like that, or just maybe your preference at the time. So this Tempo was a prime example of what they were aiming for when the market had, you know, these times where gas was an issue and people were fighting to get gas in these larger vehicles and it was costing them more money and things like that. And you know, the market for larger vehicles just wasn't hitting anymore. It hit its trend, but then it just kind of went downhill, and then everybody started going to the smaller, more compact vehicles. And then that one went on an upward trajectory. And so people were buying more smaller, compact cars that were fuel efficient, something that would get them around, something that would get them more gas mileage, in between fill-ups. So this is what the Tempo / Topaz offered in that 10-year time frame. And that's what they were looking for. But nonetheless, this is what they had in mind. And, you know, the only thing I can say is that you know, as most cars, usually, as with most cars, you know how they say it was fun while it lasted, you know, but it's time to move on to bigger and better things. And that was the trend. That set the edge for Ford to now start to look at larger vehicles. And so when the market started to look at larger vehicles, then they did away with the Tempo and the Topaz. They both were discontinued at the same time. Like I said, it had a good 10-year run. And people, you know, they did what they could with the car at the time that it was around. It did their due diligence. You know, the Tempo did what it could for the time that it was around. So, what can you say? But what we will do next is we will get it open. I mean, we will get it off of the platform here. Let me just grab my screwdriver because I want to see what it looks like off of the screwdriver. It want to see if it has like any type of markings at the bottom. Maybe it'll tell us like if it has a brand or a okay, let me see. That's the wrong screw driver. See if we can get one that actually fits. Okay. No, that's not it. I see what it's working with. So I'm gonna have to get a flathead. See, he's got triangular shapes. Get something smaller. Let's see here. Let's try this one. That's it. That will do it. Yeah, I thought this was a great buy. I really thought this was a great buy. When I saw this, you know, this was something that I felt like I wanted to have part of the collection. And I feel like ones like this, they just don't last long. You don't see these around for long. So you try to get them when you can, because you may not see them again. So you just try to get the ones that you can while you can. Well, let's check out the bottom and see what's on the bottom here. Okay, you see right there, it says 124 Ford Topaz. Ford trademarks and trade dress used under license to Premium and Collectibles Trading Company Limited. There seems to be no other markings on the bottom. And that is it. Okay. Let's give it a nice little roll. Yes, it has a good roll. Yep. Has a good roll. For sure. As I stated earlier, it does not have any opening parts. So there's nothing to open. But with all intents and purposes, even without opening parts, I still like it. I really like this car. Yeah. So this is my 1984 Mercury Topaz, or Ford Topaz, as they call it. Put down in the description if you've ever had one of these, to the older guys, if you ever had one of these. And as I said, like, comment, subscribe. Turn on your post notifications so that anytime I drop a video, you guys will be the first to see it. And I have to give this a 10. No, I'm gonna say a 9. I'm gonna say a 9. And the only reason why I say a 9 is because they could have at least gave me some opening doors. Even if they didn't give me an opening hood or trunk, they could at least gave me some opening doors. Because my Legend came with opening doors. Even though the trunk and the hood didn't open, at least they gave me some opening doors on the Legend. But they didn't give me anything to open on this one. You know. But what I will do, I will take the opportunity to put some plates, some license plates on here. I do like that they give you that option to put some license plates on here. Some cars already come with them, but this one, it gives you the option to put some plates on it. So I do have some decals that has some license plates on them. And I'm going to decide which ones I want to put on there, and I'm going to slap them on there. But guys, this is my Ford Tempo / Mercury Topaz. Let me know if you like this buy right here. Personally, I like this buy. And until next time, this is Chris signing off with another one.